Welcome to Transitions by Diversified, where we highlight advisor stories and explore key shifts that help financial advisors evolve. Whether it's transitioning a practice, upgrading technology, improving client service, refining marketing strategies, or strengthening compliance, every transition is an opportunity to grow and to build better, more sustainable businesses. I'm your host, John Anderson. I'm head of advisor growth and engagement at Diversified. Today, we're joined by Erin Carper, a senior wealth advisor in Alpharetta, Georgia, who transitioned her solo practice to become part of Diversified LLC. We'll discuss her journey, the challenges she faced, and insights for advisors navigating their own transitions, wherever they may be. Welcome, Erin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John. Great to be here.
Great. Well, let's get it started at the very beginning. Maybe talk a little bit about your journey today. So tell us about the background in financial services and kind of what led you to start your own practice first.
I think what led me to this vocation, everybody has a knack for something. And not everyone do they have the propensity or the ability or the desire to know about finances, investments, economics. But everyone, in my heart, I believe, should have an opportunity to build wealth and become as financially prosperous as they want to be. But not everybody has the propensity to just be able to do those things. So it's just like, I'm not a dentist. I go to the dentist. I do not, put a new transition in my car. I go to a mechanic, but I want a car. I want healthy teeth, and so I got into this profession to come alongside other people. When I was young, I took the opportunity to work in Chicago at the Chicago Board of Trade and Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Board of Options. So that was fun, fast paced, kind of stressful. But again, that was not face-to-face helping clients through tough things. And so I transitioned to being an independent advisor. How I started my own firm was I was with a firm for about 9 years here in Atlanta. They brought on a new partner, and I knew in my heart that partner's values were 180 degrees from mine, and I couldn't stay. So looked around a little bit to join another independent firm because I wanted to be an independent, work for my clients, not for the company, for me, and realized that so many of them are propelled by how do we do this to make the most money? And after talking to 3 or 4 or 5, I said, okay, I need to know I am doing this for my clients. So I hung my own shingle.
That's great.
And so that's how I did it. And
no, that's great.
That was 21 years ago.
That's just what I was going to ask. So 21 years ago, you put out your own shingle. You decided it was based almost exclusively on you wanted to have the values correct. You wanted to be aligned with the client, which makes perfect sense. And you're right. There are organizations out there that maybe are a little bit more focused on the income versus the shared values of your clients. So over that 21 years, as you're building your own practice, as you started to see kind of the evolution, I think, you probably were very early on in that fee-based environment 20 years ago to one that is now almost all advice-based. What aspects of your business did you feel needed to evolve over that time? How did you look at the industry and kind of evolve your practice?
I think 2 things. And when you talk about the fee-based, is that I wanted to continue to have that strong, committed relationship with the clients. I wanted to be there as they lost a job, as they had a child, as they retired, as they went through different things in their life, as they tried to figure out where they, what was going to be their retirement home. So the way to do that is I had to get paid for it. I mean, we'd all love to be able to financially be wealthy and do it for free, but we can't. So what is the value there in bringing that. And so that really transitioned me to say, if I only get transaction paid, then as much as I might love my clients, I got to go find new transactions to eat.
Right.
So it enabled me to say, I want to focus holistically on that client continually through their life. And then I think the second involvement was saying, you know, people have to coordinate so many things in their lives. And how do they get their kids into school and file for scholarships? How do they decide what Medicare plan they should take, and what should do they take a stock option, or do they take a larger match, or do they take a salary increase? All these different, and they're trying to juggle the estate attorney, the tax return. And so I realized that trying to be that general manager, and having that knowledge, and that's really what led me years ago to go and get the CFP, because though I saw the value of trying to work holistically with the client who had all these things going on in their life, I really needed the education and the certification. So I went and got my CFP, and that really, I think, enabled me and gave me the ability to say, I can help you put this all together.
That's amazing. I think that the evolution from probably more investment focused to more advice focused is something that's very consistent with what we see the demographic wanting, the demographic needing as they age, as they get more complicated. We have to be involved with them, and we have to be a part of that. And that CFP is a great designation to be much more comprehensive and deliver
Yes.
advice instead of product. That's great. So over that 21 years, running a successful practice, lots of clients, lots of transitions. Let's start thinking about the transition, however, of your practice. What made you start thinking about transitioning to a larger firm? What are the biggest concerns that were going in? And then maybe we'll get into a little bit about how you evaluated the options of the people that you looked at when you started to look at joining a new firm. So let's start with, when did you start thinking about it, and what was the biggest concerns going in?
I really started thinking about it at least 7, 8 years ago. I was at a FPA, which is our CFP professional organization, our conference, and one of the breakouts was about transitioning your practice. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm it's in the future, but I'm just going to go poke around. And so it really kind of started me thinking of what I now bring to my business owner clients. Let's not start thinking about selling your business 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before. Let's think about this 5, 6, 10 years before, and say, you know, I have come to believe that you can't call yourself a business owner if it's not a saleable asset.
Wow.
If it's not a saleable asset, you're an employee that has an employer that will never fire them. If you're a business owner, you are building an asset, and it's only an asset if it's for sale.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a collectible. And so it just really got me thinking, how do I want this to go? And if I want it to go a certain way, how do I work these next years to set it up to try and increase the probability of that happening? And that's what I tell my business owners. If you're working very hard to grow a business, to be a business owner, and you want that to be beneficial for you now and later. What does that benefit need to be when you sell it? Okay, great. If you're here now, what do you need to do? You've got time. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to plan how I wanted to go. And the biggest thing, my number one, John, was my clients.
Yeah.
I have to be practical and proactive and say, it's someday I'm going to have to step back. And it could be because I want to, I'm ready, or it could be because something else is needing me to step back,
Yeah.
another obligation, whatever. And so I wanted to do the best I could to set it up to say, when that happens, my clients are cared for and loved as much as I love them and put first and the priority of the firm. You can be a doctor and put your client and put your patient's health first, and still get paid. And so same thing with a financial advisor. That was my number one. My number one, my dream was for my clients to say, Erin, happy for you. Go. We are good. We are cared for. Thank you. See ya.
That's great. So I just what I just heard was phenomenal. So you started early, 8 years in advance, because you need to figure out what that steps are that you need to get there. You put a plan in place, but ultimately it was always about putting the client first and making sure that they were taken care of the way that you took care of them. And I love that story. So you started to look around. You built that plan up for 5, 6 years, whatever it was. You start to look around. You start to think about, what are my options? You're getting a little closer. You're kind of hitting that plan. How did you evaluate the options that were out there, and how did you choose what you thought was the right firm?
Um, I really think that just like my clients use me because this is my lane and not theirs, the sale of a business was not my lane. I think realizing that, and I think part of the value of my business are my wonderful clients. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no firm or advisor that's going to assume my clients that's going to go, oh my gosh, is this? So I was like, the value is also my wonderful clients. So, but that was my lane. So I did pursue. I got a M&A firm um, referred to me, and I had just they were wonderful. I had deep conversations with them and said, I know where I am today. I know what I want the outcome to be.
Hmm.
I don't know what, and I've never sold a business before, and I won't be selling one again. So to me, doing it on my own was about as foolish as my clients totally not know what they're doing and going from work to retirement on their own without any guidance. So I had guidance.
That's great. I love that example too, because one of the things I hear a lot from financial advisors is they have clients that are retiring. How many times have they retired? No, it's the first time. But
Yeah.
advisors have helped hundreds of clients retire. So having that knowledge, having that depth, having that conversation, and someone helping you kind of guide through that process makes a lot of sense. So you made the decision, you started to communicate. How did the clients react? How did you ensure that continuity with them to make sure that they felt taken care of, like you were so happy about?
Um, I think the best thing is that when I went to look at firms, um, I really wanted to be confident that I was making the best decision that I could make. And so that I found a firm and people that when I started to when I told my clients that I could tell them with honesty in my heart, I these this is a wonderful thing for you. You're thank you. I'm glad that I was able to bring what I could, but now this is on a team scale. This is a firm with 10 CFPs and an investment department and research and planning. And so I found the right firm that I could come to them and say, this is bigger and better. And I, you know,
That's
and
cool.
it's a good thing, and I 100% believe that. And I think that either many clients are retired. There's Most of my clients are over 45, so they're thinking about retirement. So they may not be selling a business, but they're still planning for that day of that transition. So I think there was a
Right.
part understanding that everybody transitions from work to non-work.
Right. Well, and I also think that, quite frankly, whether it's spoken or not, there is something in the back of a client's mind. What happens when you do want to step down? So it's unspoken in some cases, it's spoken in other cases, but to be proactive with that, here's what we're doing, makes sense for those clients, right?
John, it's so funny you should say that because I've had a couple clients and it really took me off guard that they said, Erin, I want to thank you. I realize that someday you're going to retire. I want to thank you for not just leaving me out there. And
That's
I was
great.
like, gosh, wow. I guess I didn't even think about intentionally, but there are some people that I think, maybe another financial planner or a dentist or somebody just retires and you call up and you go, well, I'm sorry, our business is closed. And they said, thank you for helping us through this transition.
Right.
And we value you and don't think that you would just send us to anybody.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I've actually had this conversation more than once where the clients come out of the woodwork and they're actually thanking you. It was a worry in the back of their mind that you've just alleviated, that you are making a transition. So let's talk a little bit about that. Um, Talk about the structure and the support with Diversified when you made that transition. You've got signatures, you've got client relationships, you've got data, you've got technology. Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about that transition, because that's a big worry for a lot of people.
it is. It is. And it's I guess it's not without its bumps, but the I felt from day one, um, the love, the focus, the we are here, what do you need? And and I have to apologize because at that point in time, all I could think about was myself. All right, I'm in the transition. What do I do? And so I sort of took for granted everybody was here for me. It's like, and now I realize what an amazing thing that was that they did to realize that how sensitive and anxious and whatever for me to flip that switch and to tell my clients, oh, sign all this paperwork. We're going over here. But they were everybody from the SEI transition team to the heads of the department, all of them at SEI. I mean, sorry, at Diversified. I was like, and at the time, all I could think of was, I need y'all for a lifeline because it is it's scary to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think you have it planned out, you think you're doing the right thing for the client, but you have no idea if they're all going to say, nah, not doing it. And so
So
I
good.
look back and they truly, um, the people at Diversified made a sacrifice, and I thank them. I mean, at the time, all I could think about is, all right, everybody on deck. We got to make this happen. We got to succeed at it. But now I realize how much they took away from their other responsibilities to get on my ship and man the deck, and that was pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's a great story, and I know that they're going to appreciate hearing that, because I think that having those steps, having it thought out, having the client contact, the infrastructure in place to make it as smooth as possible. Because you're right, it's a stressful time. It's a stressful
Yeah,
time. Do I make the right decision? It's, again, very similar to a client who's hiring a financial advisor for the first time.
yeah,
If you don't have everything done right, there's that seed of doubt. So I'm
yeah.
glad it worked out. So after you made the transition, what benefits, how are you servicing your clients differently as you're part of this now bigger umbrella?
I think that I, it, I really enjoyed being a part of an advisory team, and it's great that we're all CFPs. I think that it endorses who the leadership of Diversified is. That they believe for you to be a top advisor, for you to say I care about all of you and be holistic and a fiduciary, that you have to pass that bar of being a certified financial planner, and the continuing and things that go along with that. Um, and I also, having the knowing the investment team, they are so Johnny on the spot, and take each client individually, not, oh, just put them in that bucket. Oh, their closest fit is that bucket. No, they take all of the clients and their circumstances and their goals individually, and it's fantastic. Operations. I've never been with a firm that operations reaches out with an email to the client. Just want to let you know we're working on this piece of business. Please expect the email, or please expect it. And I've had comments from clients go, gosh, I thank you so much, because I would have been potentially confused on what this was or where. But they take that time to do that extra 2 or 3 touches every time operation service serves our clients, and they do recognize that that is different than how they're treated most every other place.
That's
The
great.
bank, the doctor. You never get a
Hmm.
call from a doctor. Go on the portal, see if you
Right.
can figure it out.
Right. Well, that's really interesting to hear. It's you're building the opportunity to bring more scale into it, more personal touches into it, hopefully a better client experience, which is exactly what everybody's looking for here. So
Yeah.
let's make that transition here a little bit more and say, you said it earlier that this is the first business you've ever sold clients. This is the first time they've ever retired. So looking back, what's the biggest lesson that you learned through this, and what advice would you give to other advisors who are in your shoes maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
I think my advice would be, instead of saying, well, at some point I'll be ready to put myself out there and see what somebody will offer. Instead, say, you know what? I'm going to be intentional, and I'm going to do some extra work, and I think get details of what is my client base made up of? Where does most of my revenue, my value financially come from? Um, what do I maybe want to change a little bit? And what do I want to sell my practice for? Am I there, or what can I do between now and then? But I think it's, instead of, what, I'm going to put it out there. So I'm going to work, and then at some point throw it out there and see what comes back. I would say to be intentional, draw your own picture for yourself, evaluate yourself,
Hmm.
and then take intentional steps to make changes in your business to what you want it to be, or what you believe will make it a better saleable business, more valued than somebody else's, or
Yeah.
making. And I think one of the things that I did was putting things together and putting procedures and creating spreadsheets of, you want to know exactly what I have, where, when, why, how, what. So I felt like whoever I was talking to was going to really know what they were getting, what the clients were, what their,
Hmm.
um, so I
It's
think,
it's It's great. I think, what you just said there was so funny because I have my little pen. I'm always writing little notes to myself because I want to bring something up. And as I was writing the word intentional, you said it out loud.
oh,
And that is absolutely, be intentional about it is perfect. And what you did was you worked on the business as well as in the business. So you did a little
yeah,
bit of both, and you didn't wait to the last minute to figure out what you think it's worth, because I think a lot of people would be disappointed if you don't work on the business and get the systems in place and the operational infrastructure and everything to get to the number that you're looking for. So that's last. Okay, I got one last question as we begin to wrap this up here. I want to
okay.
look ahead. What excites you about the next chapter? If you had to sum up your transition, and maybe in one sentence, what would it be? And you know, looking forward, what are you excited about?
Um, I am ever grateful that I know when I step away that my clients are cared for. And,
Wonderful.
it's coming up on almost a year and a half. And I have never doubted that every single person in this company will respect and care about and do the best they can, not only for my clients, and so I believe for all of them. So I'm so grateful that that is I'm gonna walk away knowing that and I guess the walk away knowing peace of mind, um, of where things are today, and just the opportunity for me to spend more time, with family, my husband, um, and I've done charitable work, for 50 years. My Starting with my mother going, go there, you're gonna,
Yeah.
um, and now I can be more intentional at that because I will have more time to dedicate to it.
That's perfect. That's a wonderful. I love that idea of having the peace of mind. You've talked throughout this whole process about making sure the clients are taken care of. So you can really see the depth of relationships that you've had. You can see that the primary goal is to make sure they're taken care of, and at the same time to go through this process intentionally. And it's been an absolutely great conversation, and I really, really appreciate your time. I think this has
Thank
been a
you.
lot of fun. So thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank
So
you.
thanks for sharing your journey. I think about it, every advisor's business evolves over time, and embracing those transitions, embracing change, whether it's technology, operations, client service, it leads to that long-term success. So if you're an advisor and you're looking to take that next step in your practice, Transitions by Diversified is here to help. So you can visit diversifiedllcadvisor.com, and we'll hopefully have more conversations like this. Erin, thanks for your time, and thanks
Thank
everybody
you,
for
John.
joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.